Welcome back to Brazil Crypto Report. Today I'm joined by João Aragão Pereira, Senior Technology and Innovation Specialist for Microsoft in Latin America. We dive into how Microsoft is supporting Brazil's Drex CBDC platform using its regulated liability network and confidential computing framework solutions. Great. So we're here today with João Pereira of Microsoft. João, it's so great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation, my friend, and it's my pleasure to be here with you.
Amazing. Yeah, this is our second take doing this. The first take was interrupted by some child tantrums, so hopefully this time it goes a little smoother. But hey, that's part of the drill, I guess, part of life. But hey, really great to have you on the show here. Really excited to just get kind of a brain dump from you about everything you've been working on and regarding the Drex project and Microsoft's involvement. Some really cool stuff. And to get started, why don't you give us a bit of professional background just on yourself and what you do at Microsoft?
Yeah, thank you so much, my friend. Yeah, and currently I'm working in Microsoft, in the part of the applied innovation. What is mean? Is a part of the use, for example, the CBDC, use the blockchain, use DLT, use the OpenAI, for example, generative AI, and create like one architecture, like one good architecture to solve some problems. And I believe that Web3 is another topic that I have been working, and the DeFi, CeFi, and the mainframe modernization connect with the core bank, because my background is almost fully in the financial service industry. So I support, for example, banks, payment institutions, and the insurance company. I work at some banks. I work at the AWS and the companies 100% of my entire life, and I work in the technology part now. And I have one academic part from university that based on artificial intelligence and machine learning, and my Master of Science and my PhD I finished in these topics for the health and for the security. That's my background, my friend. And nowadays, I have worked a lot with some case about the CBDC, and I have been talking with some central banks to bring the real case, use case for the one digital coin. That's is a mention. That's point, my friend.
Amazing. So let's talk a bit more about Microsoft and Microsoft's role in the kind of the CBDC the CBDC space in particular, and maybe kind of just with blockchain and Web3 more broadly. Obviously, Microsoft's been kind of involved in various capacities over the years, but it seems like Microsoft's been heavily involved in a lot of these CBDC projects that have been that are being developed right now. So, would love to just get a broader sense from you of how is Microsoft involved here, and in what capacity are you participating in these projects?
Yeah, a good topic, my friend. Yes, the Microsoft has one research area in Redmond, in US, and create a lot of papers and research, about the Web3, blockchain, DLT, the how to tokenize, and the many other topics correlate, the linked with this topic, And I'm part of the virtual team, internal virtual team about the CBDC. And for example, this team helped and support, for example, the two proof of concept in the Australia that I believe that we can explore a little bit more about the tokenization of the debentures and the security lendings using another technology that I love to talk, that is a confidential computing, that we can use to keep the price of the transaction of one bit in between or among different parties. That's for example, I talk with the guys from the Central Bank of Nigeria. It's not a specific case for the Microsoft, but the guys after to put in production ask me to okay, we can discuss about the use case of line payments, how can be facilitated the life the end user, no, not only in the communication between banks, but the end user, no, and the business user. That's a point. Another central banks or other central banks that I have been working or discussing is Trinidad and Tobago, Colombia, and Mexico. I believe that's this country launched one news that we started to study the possibility to create one new digital coin in your specific country. No, for the reason I believe that we have a lot of technology, my friends, to apply. For example, we can use the generative AI to generate the smart contracts. Is a possibility. Why not? Now, in the pilot of the Drex in Brazil, the central bank does not share the smart contracts about the public bonds here in Brazil, but we can use the OpenAI to generate some smart contracts to check the vulnerability and the part of the code. We have a lot of the confidential computing and the other components to keep like on satellites to keep it one shield around the CBDC architecture, my friend. That's the point from the Microsoft.
Got it. So there's a number of tools that have been developed in these Microsoft research labs and development labs and whatnot that are proving to be very useful inside of the tech stack of CBDC design, essentially, right? You're kind of putting some of these puzzle pieces together, essentially, and
Exactly.
adding some value to different layers. So we're going to dive a bit more into just how Microsoft is involved in the Drex Brazilian CBDC project in a bit. But before we do that, João, could you maybe just explain to us in maybe your own words, like what exactly is Drex? And it's kind of a sophomoric question, but I think I want to get your take on it because you've been pretty intimately involved in it from the early stages, and there's just not a lot of like content on this in English right now. So and it is difficult to understand, even irrespective of what language you're learning about it in. So I would love to just get kind of a brain dump for you on like how do you when people ask you like what is Drex, like how do you describe it to people?
Yeah, I love the term from the central bank. That's the Drex is a platform. It's not only one CBDC, no. And I'd like to compare. For example, in Nigeria, we have the retail CBDC. That's one digital coin issued by the central bank and delivered to the end user. No, use one bank like in two layers. No, here in Brazil, we have one concept about the unified ledger. We have the wholesale part, that's communication between the bank and the other regulator with the central bank, with all banks. I believe that in Brazil we have more than 300 financial institutions, no? But here in Brazil we can connect it on not only the banks but payment institutions, no? For example, the Federation of the BBC, that's a part of the consortium here in Brazil. We have more than 100 banks in the same federation, in the same federation of the banks. And the Drex, we can connect the wholesale with the retail part of this CBDC. For the reason there is a platform. Is a unified ledger is a new chapter in the paper of the BIS. That's the central bank of the central banks around the world. And this unified ledger, we can connect the deposit tokenized. We have the real digital tokenized. That's the part of the Drex that the population can see, no? And you have the other assets, financial assets, real world assets that can connect in this ecosystem. For the reason, this programmability, that is a good term that central bank is using a lot here in Brazil. We can create the atomic swapping if we use some smart contracts, for example, between one federal government security, and create a DVP, for example, with the Drex wholesale or the Drex retail or retail Drex. We can say it this way, because here in Brazil is real digital. If you're speaking English, digital real, no. but here Real Digital because it's the current name of the currency, And in this way, I believe that's a new age in Brazil. That's we have the one approach, one pace of innovation, and apply the concept about the DLT is not a really one blockchain, and this platform we can connect the many assets that we can exchange using, for example, one environment that we can keep the privacy, but keep the atomic swapping between different assets. Is can be one fiat currency or a digital fiat currency and one financial asset like the debentures, like a court order, like a mobile phone or cattle or agricultural commodities. That's amazing, my friend. We have an ecosystem that can accelerate this part. I believe that's the first moment. The most part of the population cannot see the Drex, the real tokenized, but I believe that's the first moment we will have the one strong movement between the banks, among the banks and central bank, and in the second step, I believe that we will start to grow for the movement and transactions. We use the DVP, and the third step, I believe that's the PVP. That is payment versus payments, and outside Brazil. That's I believe that to be great. A lot of banks are asking me about these real possibilities, how to capture investment from external, from other countries like US, UK, and they use this platform to facilitate the process, reduce costs, and mitigate the risk of the counterparties. That's the point. Central bank can be the core of this solution and extend the concept about the PVP and multiple CBDCs, not only in local in Brazil, but integrate with the other central banks. We are amazing, my friend.
Wow. So it's a very ambitious project with lots of layers to it, to say the least. It's and we're going to dive into this here in a bit more of how Microsoft is involved. But I would like, to at the end of, to kind of conclude, I would like to kind of get your thoughts on how this whole project stacks up against perhaps other projects you've seen in other central banks around the world. Like, how does this kind of differ? How is what's being developed in Brazil here differentiate from what's being developed elsewhere? But before, I just want to ask another quick question here about kind of like the end game of Drex, right? When you factor in the Pix experiment that the central bank has successfully launched, when you factor in the open finance, and even factoring in some of the recent talk about this, I believe this has been coming from Roberto Campos Neto, the central bank president, about kind of having like a super app, almost like an Asian style super app, like a WeChat or Kakao or something, almost like a super app where you basically have your entire, kind of financial life, kind of integrated into one app. I'm just kind of curious to see like how do you see like the end game of all these things as they continue to be developed and adopted and then really kind of optimized?
Yes, I love this topic before the Drex, because the super app and the Microsoft create one framework for the super app, and I tropicalized it because we had some use case and Hong Kong and Italy and the other countries around the world, and I tropicalized for the Brazil. Before the Campus Neto starts to speak about the super app, the Microsoft creating framework. That's what's the meaning of super app. We have the open finance that we can connect via APIs, many modules like the credit, like the digital identity, and we can facilitate the life for the reserve a dinner or buy some tickets using for example, pay with the Pix, and as soon as possible we use the Drex. As soon as possible we can receive one feedback or insight for investment. That's amazing, my friend. Here in Brazil I believe that's a unique country around the world that we have the open bank, open insurance, and now open investment in the same ecosystem. And we can initiate one payment, for example, Pix, that's a fast payment system, use the open banking infrastructure. No, in this way, the super app as one way is like an aggregator, not only for data but for service. And we can create this ecosystem. For example, that's the platform Drex. That's like one connection with the super app that we can connect to the traditional financial ecosystem, the legacy core banking, and the other items that is necessary here in Brazil. For the reason this concept can connect it is like a bridge in the traditional finance and the new finance. No, for example, the bank that will offer one super app for the users can improve the NPS, the score of the feedback from the customer using one platform like this. The super app is like one platform that I can connect many items for the payments, one call center, one solution for anti-fraud, not only for end user but for business users. In this way, we can facilitate the life. We can, for example, connect one the personal financial management solution, like on a specific module in the super app, and the offer for the bank, the cash flow, and the many other. And for example, connect one platform for monitoring ESG, well-being, and the other items that you can offer and improve the life of your customer. No, that's amazing, my friend. Connect the bank, insurance, and invest in the same platform. And now, I believe that next year, connect the Drex. Now, for the reason I created the tropicalized framework for Super App, my friend, the Drex connector to facilitate this connection via API.
Amazing, super interesting. And it's super interesting, this concept of the super app. It's not something that I think in kind of like the US and in Europe we really don't really have like a great understanding of how these things work. It's but in like places like China and Korea, these things have massive adoption using like WeChat in Shanghai, or in Seoul you use Kakao, and you do everything from like ordering a pizza to ordering an Uber to like buying Bitcoin to managing your bank account, like on this one thing, right? And
yes, and we can connect the chats, no, like the WhatsApp. We can start on payment via WhatsApp. We can connect to OpenAI to create an intelligent chatbot. Again, it's a real platform that you can connect via APIs. For the reason, the layer zero of the super app is the open finance. That's the point.
Amazing. So I'd like to dive in here. I'm gonna share my screen. In this presentation that you gave at the central bank a few months ago, which is where I think we first met, actually, a couple months ago. Yeah. And you and you're talking about this regulated liability network proposal, which is basically basically the framework for like how the central bank is going about building out the infrastructure for and the various layers of this Drex protocol, right? So I wanted to just kind of go through, I'm kind of scrolling through some of the slides here. And for those of you listening just on audio only, would definitely recommend checking out the video of this. But we will try to describe in enough detail so you can still get the flavor of what's happening. But would love for you, João, to kind of walk us through. So basically 5 layers in this, and these 5 layers essentially correspond to the layering that the central bank has outlined in the design of the Drex protocol. And I'd like for us to just kind of walk through like what is happening at all these different layers. So on layer 1 here, which on the screen, we've basically got, it's essentially the settlement layer, which is built on Hyperledger Bazoo, and then which is it's basically like Hyperledger Bazoo, and then you guys who are helping with like administrating all this, or adding in solutions in some capacity. And then I would love to just for you to walk us through what's going on here, and then we'll kind of work up layer by layer and just get a sense of what the architecture of this system is going to look like once it's all said and done.
Yeah, no, perfect, my friend. Yes, that's is a real architecture, no, for the Brazilian ecosystem. Look, what's the moment now, no? That's a layer 1 that we in the phase of testing, no, and we have the central bank, more 16 participants, and Ambima Selic that is responsible for the treasure, no, and the emission and the government securities bonds. In this way, we have here the central node based on chain in the Hyperledger Bezo, and that's the base of the settlement layer for the assets, the financial assets here. Here in Brazil, we have the part of here is a connection between the central bank and the bank. That's the part of the wholesale, and we can start to the layer 2 that we can connect, for example, one interoperability and the privacy or confidentiality layer to connect the central bank and the banks with the privacy. Here we is the layer 1 of the regulated liability network that we can connect to all financial institutions approved by the central bank. That's the core regulator here in Brazil. And I don't know if you go to the next layer 2, my friend. Yes, that's the interesting part, that we have the PVP use the layer 2 and the DVP. Now we know that's the government security here. The partner, the module is ERC 1155, and we have the ERC 20 that we can create in DVP to pay. Imagine that you have in the bid, and you have the bank A, bank B, and the offer, and they create some offerings to in the bid to buy the government securities, not tokenized. In this way, we have in the platform, but the bank C that is offered one value in this bid cannot see or could not see the information, the payload, the value of the maturity, who is the buyer in the some specific situation. In this way, what's the idea here? Use this layer based on the confidential nodes, based on one DLT, permission DLT that Microsoft developed to keep this privacy, because it's based on enclaves that we can create like a granularity for the specific person, specific entity see the information. And I believe that you can connect with the layer 3. That's for me in the bank is the more important, the back office layer, that we put the information about the virtual ledger. Here we can connect to a tokenization platform. We can connect with the core bank. We can connect, if possible, for example, a hypothesis in the environment for the offline payments. We can connect with the open finance and the other environments in the back end, in the back office of the banks. I have been working with the one partner here in Brazil to create this layer in the layer 3 based on APIs that we can connect in the layer 2 and connect with the legacy environment from the bank. Here, I believe that is like a swap APIs. And what's the challenge here, my friend, is creating different liquidity pools. Maybe one bank can have one NFT, one wholesale, and one retail Drex, the 3 different liquidity pools, and the current fiat, the real. In this way, in the first moment, if you use the NFT, I can have 4 different liquidity pools in the same ecosystem of the bank. So imagine that we can create an environment for swapping. Imagine that I can offer, for example, microcredit based on an NFT for some assets, for something, and we can create a balance between these different representations. And the ERC set 721, 1155, and ERC 20. That's the idea. It's the complex of this layer 3, my friend.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too, and it was one of the things that kind of popped out on this slide was just that your token standards that you're employing here are very like universally used and understood token standards, like ERC 7021 or 721 is generally the standard for NFTs, along with 1155, I believe, and then ERC 20 is obviously just kind of your standard Ethereum based token. And I want to just kind of ask about the I feel like the Ethereum virtual machine compatibility of this whole environment here is really sort of a superpower, whereby when we're talking about creating like liquidity pools and smart contracts and lending mechanisms and NFTs for usage in all these different applications and protocols. Like, how do you see sort of the I guess to what extent is this being kind of inspired by the Ethereum, sort of like the Ethereum stack itself, and then practically speaking, what does this mean for maybe builders in the Ethereum world who are looking for maybe like new places to run their smart contracts that perhaps maybe have more liquidity than kind of in the current DeFi landscape right now, which is kind of total volume under locked is not doing very well right now. But if folks they're like, hey, I want to go find a more permission environment to run these things with more liquidity, like how do they fit into this whole equation here?
Yeah, that's the layer 3 is very, very, very important, my friend. Go back to the layer 2. I don't know if you see some icons here. For example, Corda and the Quorum or Fabric. We can connect in the layer 2. Why? I saw many banks in Brazil that started the tokenization platform, for example, use the Corda or use the Quorum or use the Fabric. In this way, we can connect this environment, like an interoperability layer, with the layer 3. The layer 3, we can see the one tokenization platform, for example, tokenize the cattle, tokenize one mobile phone, tokenize the one asset, tokenize one court order, and create this balance, this different liquidity pools. The part of the 721 model or partner, we can see the not fungible tokens, okay, but the idea of the bank, I don't know, depends, is an option of the bank to create this bridge, for example, with the DeFi. Here, we are in the on-chain permissional DLT environment, between the layer 1 and layer 2 is a permissional, but in the layer 3 and the layer 4 that we will show in the next slide, we can connect with the one Web3 environment and the decentralized finance, but it's an offering from the bank. We can pay one meet of the one asset, digital asset, with the Pix, for example. But we can offer, for example, to invest in Bitcoin, to invest in other crypto coins, cryptocurrency, in the decentralized finance. That's one way. It was a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to offer, to the customers different opportunity for investment. I believe that some banks in Brazil are very accelerated, create the platforms, before the Drex, The Drex is a permission, is a CBDC, is issued by central bank, but the banks can connect and create this bridge between the CEFI, the centralized finance, with the centralized finance. For the reason, this layer 3 is very, very important, my friend. Layer 2, we have the privacy. Layer 1 is the core of the CBDC. And look, that's layer 1, layer 2. That's very similar. That was done and made in Australia. Instead of Bezel was used Quorum, is EVM compatible. And the layer 2 is the same here. I explain a little bit more about CCF. That's based on confidential nodes. And layer 3, 4, and 5 is inside the bank. Is an internal conversation until reach out the end user, the millions of end users, not only the end user, but business users. That's the great result of this ecosystem, my friend.
So is it correct to think of the layer 2 and the layer 1 here in the same way that like in Ethereum layer 2 would would be analogous to like Ethereum layer 1, where perhaps like each bank in this intermediary layer or interoperability layer, sorry, each bank is almost like its own operating, almost like its own roll up, where it's processing and it's batching transactions in a confidential manner, and then it's all those transactions are ultimately being settled on the layer 1 network, similar to how like an Optimism or something would do in the Ethereum world. Is that an appropriate way of thinking about this?
Yeah, if you for example, what's the moment? Momento, no, here in Brazil, no, the central bank, to keep the privacy here, will use the zero knowledge proof technology. For example, the Zither from Calido and the Starlight from UI in this layer 2 to keep the privacy, no. But we need one option. Why not use, for example, the TE, no, this trust execution environment based on encryption in the hardware, no, like the layer 2, that we can scale up to 10,000 TPS. That's a great number for this environment, no. And words from the guys from the central bank that the Drex is not for the payments, no, in the retail side, you know, because we have the Pix. Here is to facilitate some transactions. For example, in the atomic swap between the transfer of the car between two people, no? That's the facility of this point, you know. And the layer 2 can connect with the other blockchain platforms, and we can use the layer 2 as soon as possible, not now, but connect it directly to the other, like other blockchain platforms like DLT and the Avalanche and the others in the direct in the layer 2. No, that's the point. But to be honest, if the layer 2, the owner is the central bank, is not open to connect the other permissionless DLTs in this ecosystem. But from the layer 3 up to the customer, I believe that the bank can offer one solution for the user, the end user, my friend. That's the option. But in the side of the central bank, I believe that's almost impossible, my friend.
Okay, so the central bank still reserves sort of the right, you know, even
Exactly.
beyond the layer 1, they still sort of reserve the right to handpick like who gets to participate here, essentially.
Exactly.
Which isn't you know, unexpected. I guess that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that they would want that level of perhaps, you know, control or at least oversight. And then so
The layer
let's go
4, yeah,
we'll go to layer 4, and to me this is kind of this is where it starts to get like really interesting, because you start kind of seeing just some of the actual like business cases and what are some of the actual, you know, kind of new business models you could develop and services that could be provided here. So maybe kind of walk us through like what's going on layer 4 here.
yes. The layer 4 is very important because it is a real interoperability in the financial ecosystem in Brazil. No, for example, Open Finance, real-time payments like Pix, the part of the QIC, QIT, digital identity, you know, that we can offer in the layer 5. Layer 5 is the presentation layer, but the layer 4 is a layer that we can aggregate service, you know. We can aggregate the data, payment service, initiate on payments here. We can use the Pix to pay the mint of some token in the other parts now. That's the layer. That's the central bank and the BIS are very interested, because we can. The idea here is to avoid overlap among the Open Finance, Pix, and the Drex. Here is a layer that we can create interoperability, without overlap, because we can use the three ecosystem, or the three waves of innovation from the central bank in the same platform. Here, totally makes sense, my friend, the concept of the super app in the layer 4 and 5, that we can connect many different platforms and to offer specific solutions, service to the new customers, the generation Z, generation Y, and the many generations that we can consider creating the taxonomy. And the layer 5, that's a layer that delivered. That's a digital wallet that I believe that most part of the bank will abstract the complexity to use one digital wallet in the super app of the specific bank, And we will have the decentralized apps, and we aggregate the all services that I built in the layer 4. No, that's amazing, my friend. For the reason, the regulated ability network is like a platform that we can connect the Drex, that's a layer 1, layer 2, and connect the back office of the banks, and reach out the users in the layer 5. That we can use the Fireblocks, we can use the MetaMask, we can use the specific digital wallet that is very interested to the banks to offer to the end user, my friend. For the reason is like an ecosystem. We can put the name that we prefer, that is a platform, is an ecosystem, is a concept, but I have been working layer by layer, support the banks in the layer 1. We develop the layer 2. We are working to develop the layer 3 and the layer 4 and 5. I believe that is a red solutions that we can connect. It's like a Lego kit, my friend. In the layer 3, we have a lot of modules. In the layer 4 too, a lot of modules in the horizontal. We can expand horizontal. I believe that I did not have the opportunity to add more modules here, because in the unique slide it's not possible to add more modules, no. But I have a lot of modules in the horizontal part, my friend. The layer 4 and the layer 3. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then presumably the area where you'll see there's the most room perhaps for just entrepreneurial activity and people to come and kind of build new things and new products, new services is really on this 4 and 5 level, where 5 is this kind of is like the direct consumer. This is the interface that the consumer is going to actually using, whether it's the wallet or whether it's the aggregator. Kind of what we have in DeFi right now, with whether it's a MetaMask or a Uniswap or even like one of these DEX aggregator type services, or all these types of things that we kind of, these primitives we have in currently in DeFi, can be essentially used, or versions of these things can be used at layer 5 here, and then layer 4 is really where where I see as like, this is where we need like the entrepreneurs to really step in and start kind of building out these types of products and services on top of this framework, the layers 1, 2, and 3 that you've built up here. I mean, so
and believe, my friend, if the Brazilian, the citizen, see the opportunity to reduce fees, reduce taxes here in Brazil, in the transaction cost of lending, cost of the operation, believe the adoption of the Drex will be very quickly, my friend, very quickly.
Yeah. And this is actually a really helpful way of, going back to our original question of like, what exactly is Drex? And it's a platform. It's not just a currency, right? And I think this is a really helpful way, this chart here of mapping out. Okay, like this is an entire ecosystem, entire platform of various layers. This entire ecosystem that kind of feeds off of itself, and then maybe let's talk a bit about just maybe where are we right now in this roadmap of building all this stuff out, right? I think obviously we're in the pilot phase of Drex, which is layer 1, which is kind of getting banks spun up with nodes and getting transactions, operating, sending testnet digital rails back and forth, or Drexes back and forth in this testnet environment. Obviously, there's some things going on there. There's still some things to be resolved around privacy and making sure that all of this is in line with Brazil's data protection laws. And but as far as building out, the rest of these 2, 3, 4, 5 layers, like kind of where are we at in the process here, as far like how much have we actually accomplished thus far versus how much of this is still yet to be done?
Yeah, the question is about the situation now in the pilot, right, my friend Aaron?
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
and then where are we at in the pilot right now? And then what like how much has been done on some of these other layers here, or is it really a matter of we're just trying to focus on getting the pilot right, and then we're going to focus on building out these other layers?
Yeah, I believe to keep the timeline, that's the central bank is a public timeline, I believe that postponed for the May, in the pilot, because I believe that I believe that's public, but it's necessary, for example, some changes in smart contracts, about the solutions of the ZKP. And I believe that the central bank with the banks, the 16 participants, will test the three solutions that they put in the list, and they prioritize the Kaleido, the Zither solution. And I believe that is the first step. I believe that we will test the privacy between the banks, not the end user. And the phase 2 is the test use the ZKP to keep the privacy not only among banks, but with the end user. And this way we have the three parts now: the central bank, the banks, and the user, John and Mary. And we can is everything is simulated, is like a mock, That's I believe that's a step. Okay, the layer 2 is like an option based on the encryption hardware, in confidential nodes. That would be great from my side if for some moment the central bank would like to see, like we made in Australia, But now I believe that we have only one participant to join in this network in the layer 1. I believe that 15 already connect in this layer today. I believe that in 2 weeks, I believe that we have the 16 participants connected in the network. And I believe that in this moment, without privacy, everyone can see the transaction of everyone. But in the phase 2, I believe that's the moment to see if the solutions that the central bank select in the first moment will be keep the privacy in the transaction, in the bid of the public bonds and the other. That's the idea, my friend. And I believe that until May, it's possible to guarantee, and launch the digital currency, the Drex in December on next year.
Got it. And I want to go through a few of these other slides you have in the presentation, because I think just some of these things are super interesting. And maybe we don't have to go like maybe super in depth on some of these, but if there's any of these that you're like really keen to talk about, I mean, this is kind of talking a bit more about the privacy preserving framework that you guys have in mind. And here's another slide about the Ethereum compatibility angle that we were talking about a bit about earlier. So I'm going to skip this since we've already kind of touched on that. And this is one that I really wanted to get your take on. I mean, this is something that you guys have been developing, the confidential computing framework, the CCF, and you guys have kind of this. I love how in blockchain land everybody uses these triangles, right, to describe problems, like
a lot of triangles.
these impossible trinities or impossible triangles, But I was hoping you could kind of walk us through, maybe without going into like, like super technical, but like kind of walk us through what these confidential computing technologies are, because I think this is really interesting advance in the field of encryption that you guys have been working on here. So would love to learn a bit more about this and how it's being utilized, or how you see it being utilized in the Drex system.
Yeah. Okay, I love this slide, my friend, that can explain, and I love the comparison. I'm a guy from the university, and to see that something is good, we need to compare with the other one. In this way, what's the common today? We have the encryption at rest. Okay, when I store some data in one storage, in transit, for example, use the TOS or a multi-TOS, and to connect. For example, in the Pix, the communication between the banks and the central bank use the one channel based on mutual TOS. And now we have one opportunity, one feature from some processors, from Intel, from the AMD, that's more common here, processors. we can encrypt the data that's in use while in run and during the computation. That is totally different. Imagine that we can create the ecosystem, the platform. Imagine that I create one multi-TLS and terminate the multi-TLS inside one bubble, one security bubble that I can create. That's the name is enclave. When I use one processor that we can encrypt the data in use, we can create one security bubble that we name the enclave. That's only the guy that will have, that is the owner of the one private key, can see the information in use. In this way, I can protect, like the one concept about the zero trust, the platform, the Drex platform, use the data at rest encrypted, data in trust encrypted, and data in use encrypted. And the CCF is based on this new feature from these different processors. In this way, the core, the heart of the CCF is based on confidential nodes.
No, I think it's super interesting. Just this comparison where just for those who aren't maybe watching this, we've got kind of got existing encryption structures. Okay, we're encrypting data at rest, where it's just being stored in a database. We've got data in transit being encrypted, so it's being sent back and forth, point A to point B. It's encrypted. But what's new about this is essentially that the data, when it's actually being used in a compute job, that data remains under encryption as well, which I didn't actually realize that was like a limitation of current cryptography. But obviously, that's obviously a key. It's an attack surface, I guess, if it's not encrypted. So having that data being encrypted, like the full length through, whether it's at rest and transit, or actually being used, seems like a pretty significant development. So super interesting what you guys have built here. And then I wanted to go through. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about on this particular slide.
Yeah, that's a dense slide. That's its characteristic, the features of the CCF. That's the first one. That's the central bank loved, my friend. It was about is open source. That's the model that the Microsoft developed in the Redmond. The CCF is a DLT permission, and we can connect and plug in the other blockchain DLTs and run anywhere. But Microsoft developing in parallel the platform as a service, that we have one solution that managed CCF that run only on Azure now. That we have the characteristic that the central bank like it is a confidentiality, transparency. Is that we have the governance is a scheme for voting. We can create a high availability, and we can use the TypeScript, JavaScript to develop the smart contracts, and this is compatible with the EVM, and we can run the solid smart contracts use the CCF tool now. But the point that is a little bit different of the ZKP, is one solution TEE, that is a trust execution environment, Intel AMD processors, and we can create a remote attestation. We can another regulator for auditability. We can check if really the data or one environment like Bezo, like the other, can run one environment like this. For the reason the CCF was built, use this technology, my friend, to keep and again mitigate the risks of the counterparties. If you have a lot of entities, we can trust in some core, some heart of the solution, and that's amazing.
Great. No, thank you for that. And just I wanted to go to one other slide just on talking about CCF. We're basically talking about sort of selective declassification or unlocking. And I find this really interesting just because in any regulated permissioned environment, like we want to have maximum privacy and cryptography standards and whatever. But there also needs to be some way for like law enforcement or authorities to be able to access these things. There has to be some kind of a back door. I mean, even if maybe some people prefer that would not be the case, but in like a regulated sort of environment like this, administered by the central bank, like that's not really an option. Like you have to have this sort of back door, right? So I was hoping you could kind of explain like how this kind of this selective unlocking would work. Like what would be the process here, and how does this basically, provide for like maximum security and protection of data while still, allowing for like allowing for unlocking, and if there's due process that would justify like an unlocking or a declassification of a particular transaction or whatever.
Yeah, that's great to know, my friend. Because, for example, to create one, I love this example that I use in the Lift Challenge here in Brazil for to create one anti-money laundering solution. And I use one API to collect the specific information, not all information, to create one anti-money laundering solution. Now, that's the very similar. For example, the central bank in Brazil, the Bacen, the Ambima Selic. That's a regulator that can be or is a they are privileged users, no, and can read the private information from specific balance, for example, no. For the reason we can create, for example, two different APIs to connect in the enclave. Look, that is the bubble that I commented, no, in the confidential node. We have the CCF ledger that is based on these confidential nodes, and we can create the enclaves that we can transaction from Maria to João, for example, send 100 Drex, and we can sign it and encrypt the information before store in the CCF ledger. And after this, we can create the privileged access for the regulators or for the bank, the owner of this solution, to create one anti-money or anti-terrorism app or solution. For the reason that is a concept about the fine-grained confidentiality. For the reason we can create for specific, include the other banks. Imagine that you have the CCF in the spread for the all banks and the central bank and the regulators. We can create one access for specific banks for specific information. No? And if the information from some transactions is not necessary, the bank sees, okay, we can guarantee that only the two participants in the central bank can see the part of the information. Now, that's amazing, my friend.
So each of these privileged users are basically, they're only seeing the information that they've been like privileged to see, right? So if I'm maybe like a tax authority, or if I'm like a bank, I'm not going to be able to see the same information that maybe like the police, like the federal police would be able to see, for example, or the tax authority.
Exactly. In the previous slides, my friend, that you remember that we see on the privacy tokenized, again, is the previous that we can see. One more. That's the after the diagram. Yes.
Oh, this one. Okay.
That's,
Okay.
That's one. That's okay. Look at that in the bank side, we can see the information about the user, the ID, the bank, and the balance. But in the central bank side, I can see only the reserve balance, not the information from John, Maria, and Pedro, Thiago, and the others. No, that's amazing. That is the concept of the granularity here. No, it's a fine grained confidentiality, my friend. Is a real example.
Got it. No, that's super interesting and super. I mean, I think that's very well designed, in my opinion, to have those types of controls in place. Were there any other slides you wanted to go through quick? We're coming up on time here, so I have a couple more questions I want to throw at you. But if there's any other slides you want to go through quickly, we can do that. Otherwise, I can stop sharing here.
Yeah.
If we want to do, if just flag if any of these you want to go over, but kind of going more in depth into some of how the CCF works, getting a little more technical here. So, well, maybe we can I'll drop out or I'll unshare here. We can just wrap up with a couple questions. So I guess the main thing I'm really interested in hearing from your perspective on is okay, you've been heavily involved in developing all these, not only the technology, but also the ideas, the implementation of it. And you've also been talking to a lot of other banks around the world about various CBDC designs, and you've been involved in different pilots and whatnot in Australia and elsewhere. And just really interested in how do you compare this design of the Brazilian CBDC Drex to what is being developed elsewhere, and maybe what are the discussions that are being had elsewhere, or even at like the Bank for International Settlements, which you referenced earlier. But just really curious to get your take on like how is this stacking up, comparing to other countries who are pursuing this or looking into this heavily.
Yeah, and I love the platform, because it's a concept about the unified ledger. That is a new chapter in the Bible of the BIS about the CBDC. It's not only retail, it's not only wholesale. It's a platform that we can accelerate the innovation about this programmability around or among the banks, and we can offer for the atomic swapping for the one apartment, for one house, for one car, as soon as possible. No, we can pay one government securities tokenized here in Brazil and public, use one digital coin. I believe that's a movement for the cashless, my friend. And the Brazil, after the Pix, after Open Finance, we put in the pace of innovation here, the CBDC. In this way, I saw the architecture in the Australia is very similar. Instead of use the bezel, we use another EVM compatible, that's the Quorum, and we tested the layer 2, and we have the layer the smart contracts developing the Solidity is very similar. The point is about the use case. How can I create one feasibility about some use case? For example, as soon as possible, offline payments, as soon as possible, tokenize the court orders, tokenize the many assets, facilitate the swap, the atomic swapping. For example, if I tokenize energy and capture external money, the external investment to Brazil, I believe that's a great opportunity. And if possible, create one financial inclusion and digital inclusion. If you can offer different possibilities in Brazil, I believe that's not the only innovation, it's applied innovation to create one process for the financial inclusion. Pix accelerate this. Open Finance, not so much, but I believe that Drex is not only the wholesale part of the Drex, but the retail. We can accelerate this financial inclusion. If you can tokenize manioc or cassava here in Brazil, why not exchange this in the PVP process with the Nigeria? That's another great producer of the cassava around the world. Why not? It's possible, my friend. We have the tool, and you have the central bank in Brazil with the accelerating with the accelerated process. That's amazing, my friend. I believe that we are in the right moment, and Brazil is another layer. Other central banks are waiting. That's the situation in Brazil to replicate, like the Colombia. That I confirm. I talk with them, and they put on hold on, and they accelerate the fast payment system. And now the second phase in the Colombia is to waiting the Brazil to try replicate the same environment, my friend. That's amazing, no? That's amazing.
Yeah. So you actually have banks who are basically saying we're just going to take a pause and we're just going to wait and see how this Brazil experiment turns out. And if Brazil gets it right, we're going to just kind of copy what they do. Basically, is what's going on.
Yeah. The same level of Australia, for example, is not Australia. Okay, Australia and the pilot, but here in Brazil we have the date is a December of 2024 to launch the new digital coin now. That's amazing. That's great compared with the other countries. Only in the layer of the okay, I'm studying. I check. I'm thinking that I launch one pilot, but in Brazil no, we have the date to launch the Drex now. That's a totally different the approach, no.
Yeah, so there's an urgency here because of the deadline, right? And obviously, Roberto Campos Neto is very keen to get this like out before his term expires and whatnot. So there's an urgency that you're perhaps not seeing in other areas where it's like, oh, we'll do a test here and a pilot there and research here.
Exactly.
But here, there's a bit more of a you know, a bit more of a tapa na bunda, right? Get things moving, right?
Exactly.
So,
Go.
so, and then the other important thing you mentioned that I actually wanted to ask about this, but it didn't come up. But I think it's important to note that this whole system that's being created is not just meant to be, you know, like internal to Brazil only, right? There's a cross-border element to this, right? Kind of what you mentioned with, you know, trading cassavas with Nigeria or tokenized cassavas. But there's the thinking behind this is that this will ultimately be not necessarily internationalized. That's maybe not the right word for it, but there will be like direct connections, linkages to systems being built in other countries and things. And it's not dissimilar from what's being talked about with Pix, right? There's talks about maybe including more international integrations into Pix and other currencies and things of that nature. But if you want to just maybe touch on that really quick, and then if you have any other kind of final thoughts, would love to get them, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Oh yeah, thank you, my friend. Yeah, it's you commented one good point here. For example, the BIS, I believe that is very accelerating the Nexus, no? That is an ecosystem for the fast payment system around some central banks, no? And I believe that's the second phase of the CBDCs is to create this bridge, you know, this connection, no? And to create like MCBDC. And my final thoughts, my friend, is about to test, you know, the innovation. We have one different moment about the financial ecosystem here in Brazil, that we are exporting intelligence in this type of this model now. That's amazing for the Brazilian guys. I'm proud to be Brazilian now. And finally, we are using the DLT for one specific model partner that makes sense. That's the point, you know. It's not the only. I talk with the guys to use the blockchain for digital documents or for paper. I don't know. It's a good approach for this, but so to be the base of one digital coin, I believe that now we keep the specific role, the great role for the blockchain or DLT to support one digital coin now. This way, I believe that's a great. And in Brazil again, we have one pace of innovation is a very accelerated, you know. And again, I'm proud, and only one big thank you, Aaron, to invite me to talk about this topic. And I have been talking a lot with the many banks, central banks. That's amazing, my friend. This is a great to us.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time here today. I really learned a lot. This is super interesting, and I hope our listeners learn a lot as well. And as I mentioned, there's not as much content about this in English as there probably should be. So we're trying to, you know, change that one podcast at a time here, I suppose. But where can folks find you if they have questions or they want to learn more? What's the best way to find you and reach you?
Yeah, the LinkedIn, I believe that you can, but I'm a public guy.
Okay.
If you can send a message to me in the LinkedIn, believe me, I will answer. Okay.
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, João. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you so much, my friend, for the invitation.